Love it or hate it, the San Francisco market is one that pretty much everyone here knows that properties sell over list. So it is just a baked in part of our culture that has had, ever since I started, a very strong presence in the marketplace. And even today, when there is such high inventory on the market, things are sitting, people still feel uncomfortable in the city offering under the list price. I don't think you should. If a property is sitting in the market, go ahead, try and offer low on it because you may as well. There's no other competition. But it is hard to get buyers to that point to offer under the list price, just because of the culture of this marketplace is so ingrained, and people think that everything sells over the list price. I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of this, just because I thought it was so interesting when I was running the data. Even during this time period, on average, over the past 12 months, about 50% of properties were selling over the list price. Now, there is a little bit of disconnect on that, because that does take into account properties that have dropped their list price and then ultimately sell over what they dropped to. So if a property has been on the market for 3 or 4 months, they had a couple property price reductions, and then they sell $20,000 over the last price reduction, that actually gets incorporated as selling over the list price. So there is going to be a little bit of disconnect there, but 50% of properties in the past year have sold over their listed price. Going back to 2009, during the last recession, there was that number was just about 10% of properties sold over the list price. So, a vast majority of the properties were selling at or around their list, or even under their list price. Only 10% were selling over the list price. After that, over the 3 years, as we were coming out of the 2008-2009 time period, that number did increase to about 30% of properties selling over their listed price. At times over the past, 5 or 6 years, during some of the really high competitive times, during some of the best seller markets in San Francisco, that number increased to about 80% of properties selling over their list price. Now we're down to about, over the past several years, it's been roughly around 60%, so still a huge amount of properties were selling over their list price. And then even during COVID, during this time period when properties were sitting on the market, when we had a large number of condos and inventory that was not moving quickly, 50% of properties were still selling over their listed price. So it just amazes me how this is such an ingrained part of the culture of San Francisco. And once again, as I started this, it's for better or for worse. I see it, there's definitely two sides to that. On the seller side, of course, it's great to get multiple offers. It's great to have competition on your property. However, if someone feels uncomfortable writing an offer on your property because they feel that you're expecting a higher price, and there's a mentality perception there, then it becomes a double-edged sword for you on the seller side. And then on the buyer side, having to compete on properties is difficult. It can be an emotional roller coaster. Being able to go in and feel like you can negotiate and get the best price definitely makes you going in as a buyer makes you feel better about your position in the deal of the purchase. So there is benefits and negatives to both sides of it, but it is such an ingrained part of our culture. It'll be interesting to see if that changes at all over the coming time period. Properties recently have felt like they're getting closer and closer to selling at their list price or thereabouts. But my guess is once the demand is back and supply closes up a little bit, that we're going to be back to that marketplace where properties are priced under the list, get the multiple offers, and once again we're at to that 50-60% of properties selling over their listed price.